Welcome back to First Take. The Heat didn't stop OKC from showing out yesterday at their championship parade as temperatures approached triple digits to celebrate the franchise's first title since moving from Seattle to Oklahoma. Bob Myers is in the building. This is a special treat. It's draft day here on ESPN. Bob, you've been to a few parades in your day with the Warriors. What's that like?
It's the best. It's the best. It's the height of the profession. You can actually enjoy it. The problem, Molly, is, and you talk about the parade with the Oklahoma City, the draft.
There you are.
We had a parade.
Oh, your girls are so cute.
Yeah, that was fun. Actually, we went with the family. It was great. One year, Molly, we had a parade and a draft workout on the same day. So the parade, you like to drink. I mean, you know, not everybody drinks, but I'd like to have some drinks at the parade. And one year, we couldn't drink, we couldn't celebrate because we had to go back, and you can't be drunk at a draft workout. I mean, you can, it's not advisable. Right. But the parade's the best day because you know why? The fans. And in Oakland, that was fantastic, right? Oakland fans. We have talked about Oakland. There was a smell. There was a smell that permeated the draft. I'll let the viewers guess what that smell was. Yeah. People were having a good time.
People were
having a good time.
No,
very relaxed.
They were enjoying themselves.
Yes, no doubt.
That was fun to see that video. Beautiful family.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll keep it rolling here, guys. The Nuggets took OKC to Game 7 in the West semis, but the Thunder blew out Denver. And we'll continue on with Jokic and company are just 2 years removed from a title, but owner Josh Kroenke decided to float the possibility of moving the three-time MVP yesterday while addressing the media.
For us as an organization, going into that second apron is not necessarily something that we're scared of. I think that there are rules around it that we needed to be very careful of with our injury history. The wrong person gets injured, and very quickly you're into a scenario where that I never want to have to contemplate, and that's trade number 15. And so, we're very conscious of that pushing forward.
You guys have obviously been around Nikola. You probably, I would expect, be looking to offer him an extension over the course of this summer. Do you expect to be offering that, and do you expect him to accept it?
We're definitely going to offer it. I'm not sure if he's going to accept it or not, because we're also going to explain every financial parameter around him signing now versus signing later. Be completely transparent. That's the way we always are. And then he makes the best decision for himself and his family, and we'll support him in it.
Okay. Do you have any issue with Josh Kroenke making those comments?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't want to make those comments. Some of us, if you talk to the media, you make mistakes, except for, I mean, you would say you haven't made any mistakes.
He's made a couple. I've been here to try to clean them up.
Yeah, exactly. That's one where you'd like to rewind the time a little bit. And I'm sure he's dealt with the aftermath already, whatever that is, that's calling Jokic, saying, listen, that was stupid. Shouldn't have said that. Molly, in those positions, you want to avoid drama, right? Sometimes you want to create your show, do some drama today. But when you're in an executive role, keep it calm. And now the fact that we're talking about it, which I understand why we are, means he misspoke. That's how I'm seeing it. That's how I'm looking at it.
They're not trading Jokic.
They're not trading.
Yeah, but he said he's not necessarily afraid of the second apron. I think he actually is afraid of the second apron.
Well, don't you think everybody is?
Yes, I do. Because they're looking at Boston, and they're seeing that Boston is in the second apron with one of their star players injured, and they're seeing them have to trade.
Can you explain to people that don't know what the second apron is very quickly?
The biggest thing that you have to understand is it used to be when you were a big spending team, it just cost you money. The farther you went into the salaries, the more you had to pay. And if your owner was wealthy enough, it didn't really matter. Now, because owners kept paying, they changed the rules, and so now it takes your ability to change your team away from you. And that is very scary. Not only that, it takes away, in some cases, your ability to trade draft picks and even make draft picks into the future. And so teams really don't want to be into it. And so you look at a team like Boston that is in the worst case scenario, which is the scenario that Kroenke was describing there, which is in the second apron with the star player hurt. And so now you've got Boston having to make trades where they're essentially giving away players. They gave away Kristaps Porzingis yesterday because they had to get out of the second apron. And that is what is definitely scary. That is what's scaring him. He shouldn't have said that about Jokic. And my guess is we will not hear from Josh for a while in front of the media, which is sad because I like when owners talk. General managers are fearful of it. And I thought it was, in a perverse sense, kind of funny because he's got his brand new front office sitting to his right and left, his 2 new vice presidents, Ben Tenzer and John Wallace, and they're like, oh my God, this is our first day and we gotta deal with our star player. But really the underscoring of this is how the entire league is reacting to these new rules and how it's going to frame so much of what's happening.
I disagree about what this really underscores. I mean, or rather what the concern should be. Yeah, he should not have said that. But there's a couple of reasons why he shouldn't have said that. When you look at Jokic, I'm just looking at some numbers here. 29.7 points, third in the NBA last year. 12.8 rebounds, third in the NBA last year. 10.2 assists, second in the league in assists, all right? And 1.8 steals per game, which ranked third. That's second or third in those categories. And he was first, obviously, 31 triple-doubles. This is Nikola Jokic we're talking about here. He's not going anywhere. But should he want to stay? See, that's where it gets interesting about Denver, which you got an owner that opened his mouth, you know, obviously foolishly in that particular situation. We all make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. But when you look at Denver, they lose in a Game 7 in the Western Conference semifinals this year to OKC. The year before that, Game 7, Minnesota, semifinals. Well, if you had kept Bruce Brown, if you had kept Jeff Green, you lose those games, you might have won those games. And so it's not about Aaron Gordon, just him getting hurt, okay? Or Jamal Murray and, you know, his health was up and down, but he shows up in the postseason, but you still think like there's a little something missing from him being 100%. It's about the fact that you had to rely on your top 6 guys because you didn't have depth because you didn't want to pay. If I'm Jokic, I'm looking at you and I'm going like this. We gonna lose those kind of players? I mean, they ain't that expensive. You can't, because you do understand, we could have won the championship. We could have won at least 2 titles over the last 3 years if you don't let those moves occur. That's the issue. It's not about him and what you're offering him. What are you going to put around him? And what are you going to be committed to spending to make sure he's insulated, et cetera? Because obviously you did that in Golden State. It wasn't just about Steph and Clay. You made sure that there were pieces around y'all. I mean, Andre Iguodala won a Finals MVP. Andrew Bogut had made a contribution. Zsa Pachulia. I mean, you got guys that you would never think would make contributions. But that's what happened. So I'm just saying, are you going to do that? Offering Jokic the money is obvious. What are you going to put around him? That's the question.
Have you heard him ever say anything along those lines? I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. Mm-hmm. That's the business of the NBA. And when you find that answer out is when you offer an extension and the player goes, I'm okay. And I don't know if his extension by waiting, he gets more money. Sometimes players say no to that. But you find out, like we went through with Giannis a few times. He's going to sign it, he's going to not. He signed it. Now he's obviously saying, I'm good for now. I haven't heard Jokic, and he may be in a minority of players where he says, I can deal with whatever comes. But you're asking the right question, and that's what that promise you this, because I've done that job. That's what the organization is. That's their biggest fear. It's always the biggest fear for the star to knock on your, hey, you got a minute? What are we doing with the roster?
That's right.
And then as a GM, you go, oh, my God. Because sometimes you can't fix your mistakes. Sometimes it's not, and the guy goes, look, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Mm-hmm. A guy like that, he can obviously say, what else do you want me to do? So he's holding up his end of the bargain, and he looks at you, and he says, you got to hold up yours.
Which is why, quietly, LeBron has been a nightmare for executives. Let's call it what it is. Let's call it what it is. I'm not disrespecting him. I'm pointing out the obvious because he's a superstar player that has the right to take the positions they take. LeBron will look at the roster. He will look at a roster. He'll be like this, what are we doing with that roster?
Well, hang on. I don't know. I know you some. Would you be like that as a player? What would you be?
100%. I'll answer it for him. I've worked with him for 10 years.
What would I do? Go ahead.
I want to know what Stephen A. would be like as a star player.
He would 100% be a nightmare. He would be calling a meeting, and that's exactly what he would say. I'm holding up my end of the bargain. Right. What are we going to do here?
Right. Yeah.
And heads would roll.
But then you're saying LeBron was...
I didn't say it in a bad way. I'm not having an issue with it. I'm saying he has the right to do it. He's not going to be somebody that sits, by all accounts, everybody you talk to or whatever, because it's me speaking, so even if it's the truth, they're going to deny it, but it's okay. All right? The fact of the matter is that when you are a star in this league, all right, and you answer the call, you do your job. Remember when Kobe Bryant said, he came on my radio show years ago, God rest his soul, but when he wanted to get traded from the Lakers, he came on my show and said, I'd play on Pluto first before I play for the Lakers again. Now, obviously, but what happened? They traded Kwame Brown for Pau Gasol and them brothers. That's what happened.
Yeah. So
all right?
Two years ago, there was an interview that Calvin Booth, the ex-GM, gave to The Ringer. Mm-hmm. It was maybe the greatest general manager interview I've ever read. And it was a mistake because he thought he was off the record. But that's the story for another day. And he said, if we don't mess this up, we should win 3 or 4 titles. And I agreed with him because I looked at that team. Well, they might have messed this up a little bit because now he's been fired. And the last 2 years, they've lost Game 7s. Yeah. With their roster slightly depleted. Now, the injuries played a role, but the roster is slightly depleted. And so Josh Kroenke openly said yesterday, we're going to offer him an extension, okay? He told the world that. And he goes, I don't know if he's going to take it. Now, the reason he said that was because he can actually get more money if he waits. But when your star player gets offered an extension and says no, it's not good. And so if you're Denver, who, by the way, I still think has a great chance to put a team together to win the title next year.
That's fine, but you keep saying, but those are the operative words, putting the team together.
Last word here, Stephen.
When you said Bruce Brown, remember how he looked in the playoffs the year they won the title. I mean, he was a vital piece to them. You don't let that just walk out the door, especially when you know you got a superstar you want to appease.
See, Bob, your point is made. Like LeBron, he'd be a nightmare.
I would. I didn't say
I don't think I
otherwise.
could be the GM of a Stephen A. star.
No. You just produce. I'm going to hold you accountable. Damn right. And I ain't changing. I ain't apologizing of that to a damn soul. If I'm doing my job, you're going to do your job.
That's right.
Or you're going to hear from me. You damn right. That is me. She's right.